Okay, class we can define model of an object, model of an object. So and also class can be having properties. Class is having properties and methods of an object. Okay, so which will be specified the properties and methods of an object. How we are going to specify the class, how we are going to declare the class. First let me see is the syntax of a class. Okay, how we are going to define the syntax. So first by using the class keyword. Class is a keyword which is available in TypeScript. So predefined available TypeScript, and we are specifying the class name here. Class name. The class name might be any name, any valid identifier. So we have seen that in the JavaScript as well, identifiers are following certain rules. Those rules are like the names of a class, names of a methods, names of properties, whatever we are using in the programming. So that should follow certain rules. Those are the name might be containing any lowercase alphabets, uppercase alphabets, A to Z, and also 0 to 9 numbers, and also some special characters like dollar and underscores. By using those, the combination of those, we can use any name, we can frame any name that is valid. Valid identifier we can use as a class name. Okay, but as we all know, the class names are also specified and start with the capital letters. Okay, that should be better. We can say the class names are nouns kind of things in the English language. Okay, now methods can be defined in the verb kind of things in the English. Okay, so because it's an activity, verb is some performing some actions, activity. Okay, kind of thing. And class is containing some properties. Okay, so properties, whatever the properties, anything we have seen in the previous case, some variables we have declared, some properties we have declared, and also which is having some methods. Okay, the methods are whatever the methods, some operations where we are going to perform with respect to the class. So like that we have the properties and methods. So now we will see the actual implementation of this. Here how we are defining the objects. Actually objects can be defined like this: the object name, so whatever we have used in the previous case, the constant with respect to any variable, object name. So object name we have to specify equal to, within the curly braces we have to write the same like the properties. We are defining props, properties, and also we have object methods. Okay, like that only we have to define the class properties, class methods, and class signature as well. Okay, then how it's going to be vary from the object. Okay, so now I'm defining a class, some class name. I'm going to define one student class here. Okay, student, that is a class name. Valid identifier I can use, right? Anything I can use. Class student class name, bracket open and bracket close. So this is nothing but here curly brackets what we are using for object definition and class definition as well. Okay, so now I have two properties. That properties I can define like this. So TypeScript will allow static typing and dynamic typing. Okay, so like this here also we are using some s name. Okay, s name. If I specify the data type here, okay, number is equal to some value. So whatever the value I'm going to take, that value I can define. Okay, Ramana I will take. So like this I have to specify s name, number, Ramana. Okay, like so. Then after what I have to use, so inside that yes is I'm defining yes is colon something like integer. So whatever s is also number. S name is not a number, that's why it's showing the syntactical error. Now it is a string, right? Because right side we have assigned the value as string, that's why it's showing. S is I'm taking as a number, that number I'm specifying some 29, right? So these are two properties I have taken. S location if required, so whatever the properties you want to specify, that you can take. Okay, string I'm taking here, HYD I'm taking. Okay, so like this there are three properties which I have taken in the class. Okay, then after that methods also, right? So method is also having some return type here. So what is that return type? Suppose get student data I can specify. If it should recognize it is a method, we have to specify the parenthesis. Okay, and also the method is also containing so the return type. So whatever the return type, if you want, you can provide the return type. So thereafter you can instantiate, and if you write any data type here, so whatever you want, you can type the return type here. If you want any data type here, so that must require, that must accept, so one return statement, whatever the type of return statement we have provided, that type of return statement it should accept. Okay, some string, whatever the string type of string data, it should expect as a return type. Okay, if you are specifying that it is a number, okay, so whatever you want, so that should be accepting the number type of data. Suppose 1 2 3 I am providing like this, it will be accepting. Okay, so there is no function definition like function keyword I am using, only directly method name. See, so this is where we are exactly using in the Angular as well. Okay, Angular entirely using the TypeScript files only. In the TypeScript, whenever if you want to provide any method inside the class, here we have to define them. In the previous case, how we are defining, so like this, suppose if it is a function, we have to specify in the JavaScript, like suppose it is a function, we are specifying like that. Okay, function and function name we have to specify there. So but here, so not required that, so directly you can give, so whatever the function name, I mean method name, so you can specify the method, any object method or any class method. So now we have used the class method, right? That's why inside the class we are using the method. Okay, so now if I want to put some parameters inside that, so param1 comma param2 comma param3, so like that, param n, so number of parameters I can provide. Okay, number of parameters I can provide like this. Okay, so but whenever we are providing any type, the type is nothing but here the data type, return type we can say. So method signature, I will tell you the exactly how the method signature is inside a class, how we are going to write the methods here. So method name should be any valid identifier followed by parenthesis colon some return type. Okay, return type. Okay, so if you want some parameters inside this, you can provide the parameters. Okay, like return type. After that, within the curly braces, you can write the body of the method. Body, right here. Whatever we are discussing, let me give one highlighter. We have already seen in the previous JavaScript sessions as well, but now also I'm explaining one more time. Okay, because anywhere when we are going to interact with the Angular applications, so data binding will be happen and event binding will be happen. The event binding with respect to the methods we are going to use. See here, so whenever we are discussing about the method, so this is an entire method. Okay, I'm not going to discuss about this particular methods. That's why I'm explaining clearly here itself. Okay, here entire thing will be called as a method. Okay, method definition. Now if you come to see, so this only the part, like, so this part if you can take method name and parameter and return type, so these thing we can call it as method prototype. So where we can say, so this is a method declaration. Okay, this is a method declaration, method prototype. And whenever if you can take this method name along with the parentheses, okay, whatever the parameters we have taken, so this we can call it as method signature. Okay, method signature we can say. Okay, so this entire part we can call it as a method, and only the particular part of method name, arguments list and return type, so entirely we can call it as a method prototype, and method name along with the parameters will be called as a signature, method signature. Like this we can use the terminology when we are defining and when we are declaring the method. And here, so whatever the method body, we have to write actual logic, there we can write the logic. Okay, so like this the structure will be. And we know that the TypeScript is allowing both static and dynamic typing. Okay, so then if you want, you can provide the data types, otherwise you can simply ignore the data type as well, nothing to worry. Now here I'm using the method get data, the person data or else student data I'm taking. If I want, I can put some data type. Okay, otherwise I can remove this data type. I'm not using the data type as of now. Later classes I will take the data type. Okay, so now I have to return the yes name plus I'm concatenating all the values and returning the all the values. Okay, return, we know the return statement process, right? Property of return statement, s name ss like that. So scs and yes location I can specify. Okay, see there should be some errors we are getting. Okay, this dot s name, why? Because so we have to provide the this scope, this binding should be required for current class current object properties. Okay, this dot s location, like that we have to specify. Okay, so now I have declared one method, I have saved all the properties, and I'm giving it as a semicolon. So line terminator is also treating, it's a mandatory. So whenever we are declaring, because strictly type checking will be strictly followed in the TypeScript file. Okay, type checking will be strictly followed in the TypeScript. Okay, and whatever the output statement, whatever the input statement we have used in the JavaScript, that you can use happily. Okay, so now coming to the accessing of that properties. Okay, now I want to access the student class. Okay, student class is having the properties of s name, ss, s location, and one method called get data. Okay, how can I access that? So here we have to define one object, we have to instantiate this class. Like suppose we have already seen that. Okay, somewhere some object I'm specifying student object, right? Some student small letters I am specifying anyhow. So these are some of the naming conventions I am following here. And new, so whatever the class name I have used, that class name I have to specify here. Okay, if I do like this, what does it means actually? If I do like this, what does it means? So this is a constructor, the class constructor, whatever, whenever this statement occurs. In the previous case also, in the JavaScript function new constructor method we have seen. So like that, if you want to create an object, that object can be created with the help of new keyword. Okay, new keyword followed by that class and following parenthesis. That means it is a class constructor, we can say. This one we can say the class constructor. Okay, so now, so this is a reference variable. This is called what? Reference variable. Reference variable. So variables, why we are using? To hold the data temporarily. So named memory location, what should it hold here? So the object, whatever the object we are using, that object it will be holding here. So the new class, student class object, we are storing it in the student object. Student is a reference variable name. Okay, so like this we can store, we can instantiate, we can create the student properties. Okay, right. So now how to access that? So just by simply giving some log. Okay, log I'm using, what I want to display? Student data, student. Okay, so now I have saved this file. I have saved this file. I want to access this file. So to access that, to execute that, I am using here the compiler, I mean the command prompts, because in my VS code, so there should be some issue. PowerShell is not going to work. Again, there also I have to open the terminal only, command prompt. That's why. Now, if you can see inside the TS workspace, I have. Okay, what's our file name actually? File name is demo.ts. Now, if I want to compile and execute, there are two steps. One, compilation, TSC, TypeScript compiler, and demo.ts I have to specify. Once I'll do this one, so where the compilation process is done. So if there are no errors, it will simply give an empty line, and after that the cursor will ask for something what you are going to execute again. Now to execute this one, so whenever I done this once, so whenever I do this one, so this demo.ts file will be compiled, I mean transpiled and converting, so this TS file into JavaScript file. So now what I'm going to use, as usual, JavaScript file I'm going to execute. Demo, so what is the file name here? Demo.js I have to specify. Okay, demo.js. See here, so whatever the student class we have, that student class, the student properties, it is going to be displayed. It's going to be displayed here. Okay, so now if I want to access only one particular property, okay, so this method I have written, no, so this method I have written but not yet called. So only this statement will show, so whatever the class properties which are there, so that will be initialized and that will be so written. Okay, now if I want to access that method, only that particular method, if I want to access, dot get data, anyhow that is a method, so parenthesis also you need to provide here, and save this one. Here again I'm going to recompile. And remember one thing guys, if you are doing any modifications, any changes in the TypeScript file, each and every time you have to recompile and re-execute the file. So because already existing demo.js file is available, which is having only this output. Okay. Again, we have changed that one more. So for that, what we are going to do, so that we are going to recompile and re-execute that whatever we have. Okay. Now again, I'm going to execute. See here, Ramana 29 HYD. So whatever the method is we have defined. So this data we have executed. This method we have called. Okay, so whatever we are giving only the entire object with the properties, it's going to be displayed. Okay, now if you call like this, the method will be displayed. Okay, here one more thing. Okay, so whenever we are creating an object, so with the help of the new constructor method, so you can create number of objects, but each and every object should be unique. Okay, when we create this object, each and every object should be unique. You have to specify like this. Don't use same name because it will be treating only one object. Even it's going to give some exception error also. Okay, student dot method. I mean, here I have created 4 objects. Here I have created 4 objects. Each and every object, whenever I do this one, so with the help of object reference variable, all objects are instantiated. When I do this one, so the object creation will be happen at the time. So whatever the class related properties and methods we have, so that memory allocation in the memory will be allocated. Okay, so here some s name is a string type. String type will occupy some amount of space in our system, so that will be occupied for this. I mean, so when we define a class and a class properties, while defining itself, it won't be created any internal memory. So when we create an object, so at the time, so the class respective data related memory will be allocated in the computer. Okay, allocated in the computer. So when we instantiate this one, when we run this ones at the time, so whatever the s number, age, string, so the data types, whatever we are taking, the data type related data, the data for store the data, so some memory will be allocated. That memory name should be given as a yes name, yes location, like that it will be giving. Okay, see, so there I have created 4 objects. Okay, 4 object references. If I want to call, so this student dot get data is belongs to this get data method belongs to only student object. So because I'm calling from the student, right? If I want to call this student one, so now this is a separate object, student one is a separate object, student is a separate object. So now student one get data, I'm calling with the help of student one. Here also same thing will be happen. For each and every class we can contain, we may have any number of objects. Here each and every time object is created, that class respective data will be allocated some particular amount of memory. For that memory, so names will be allocated with the help of variables, whatever we have created. Here 4 times it will be creating, means 4 objects it will be creating, 4 times the memory allocation will be happen. 4 object references variables we can use, each and everything will be separate one, not as unique one. Okay, now so this is separate and this student one dot get data is separate. Okay, anyhow we are getting the same result only. See, again I have done the changes in the TypeScript file. I'm just recompiling it and I'm going to re-execute that one again. Okay, see, 2 times it will be executed, but this line of statement will be belongings to student object. Okay, and this line of statement, whatever it's executed, this will be belongings to student one object. Okay, so like that we can access the object methods, sorry, class methods. Okay, here we are discussing about the class, right? Class methods. Now, so my requirement is how to access the class properties with the help of the class. Okay, we are not going to access the class properties with the help of class name. How we can call? By using the object names, no? So like that we have instantiated and one object reference variable we have created. With the help of object reference variable, I am going to access the properties. Suppose I am getting one name, student name I have to fetch. Okay, yes name. Okay, to call this one directly we can't able to call. Okay, so here, so with the help of the object whatever we have created, so with the help of that object reference we can call that property. Okay, now if you can access yes name, okay, so s is Okay, so S is S name, S location. All properties we can access with the help of object reference. Okay, with the help of object reference. See, anything is same. Okay, now I am accessing those properties. Compiling it. Compile successfully. So to execute node demo.js file, you have to see the mana 29 HYD. So this will be executed. So this whatever the values I have given, so those values I have given. And what happened if you won't give any value? Okay, so that will obviously fine. So nothing to worry. So the empty data, whatever the so default initializations will be happened, that will be happened. Now I have not given anything. Okay, so just I have declared that one. Okay, whatever the variables I have declared with the help of type. Okay, now what will be the result? Same thing I'm going to execute again by recompiling it. See, objects, constructors in the classes. Okay, here also in TypeScript also we have one constructor. The constructor is having the name as constructor itself. Okay, constructor name should be constructor only. So this constructor will be called each and every time when we create an object. Okay, that we have seen already. So this is a object creation process. When we do this one, so the constructor, whenever this statement will occur, automatically the constructor will be called. Automatically the constructor will be called. Okay, so now, so if I want to provide a parameter, so we can also provide the parameters. Okay, now name I am providing. Okay, so name, which is of type string. Here also I'm specifying the type. Okay, now age I am providing, which is also type age. S location, sorry, age is of type number. Okay, now I am providing location. Okay, location, so is of type string I am providing. Like that we can have the parameters. So these are parameters. The constructor is defined within the class. If you are providing, so that will be accepting the same constructor. If you are not providing, default constructor will be taken. That is an empty constructor. Whenever an object creation will be happen for this class at that time, so the each and every class must call the constructor. So while occurring this one here, why it's showing the error? So because we have some parameters, we need to pass that arguments there. Okay, so there are 3 parameters. We have to pass 3 arguments. One is of type string. So Kiran I am providing as a name, and age I am providing 23, and also location I am providing HYD. Okay, see now the error gone. So that means the constructor is mandatory. So if you are providing any parameters in the constructors, that constructor respective, when we are creating an object, the constructor respective argument we should pass. Okay, so like this. So each and every class contain the constructor. And here one more thing. So there are no multiple constructors allowed in the TypeScript. Constructor I am providing. So if I provide like this, see, so that should be showing an error. Okay, so no multiple constructors will be allowed inside the classes in the TypeScript. Okay, so whereas if it comes to the JavaScript, this is a JavaScript file. So I have defined one object. I have defined one irrespective of the classes and irrespective of the objects. I am defining this one. Okay, class, some sample class I am defining. Okay, sample class. Inside that we have the constructor as well. Okay, that constructor is containing some implementation. Here I am providing another constructor in the same object, same class. See, is there any errors? Okay, like this, if you are providing in the TypeScript, you can observe here. Okay, so whatever you want, even if you are providing the parameters, if you are providing the default constructor. Okay, so that should be, there should be a thumb rule. So constructor name is defined with the constructor only, and if we have any constructor inside a class, so that should allow only one constructor. And if there are no constructor, that will be filed, one default constructor will be created and called whenever we are creating an object. Okay, the constructor should be one only inside a class, either default constructor or whatever the user defined constructor. So that should be there only one. We can't use more than one constructor. Okay, right. So this is how the constructor is mainly used to initialize the values of a class. Okay, class properties, whatever the class properties we have, these class properties values I can initialize while creating an object. Okay, now here inside that Okay, here inside that I have to take the properties of all the value, whatever the values I am passing from here, so that values I am going to take. So now how I am going to assign, actually these properties I have defined inside the class and I'm passing with the help of constructor. So then whatever the parameters you are providing here, that parameters will be assigned whatever the arguments I am passing here. Okay, for that what I'm going to do, this whatever these class related properties we have, for that class related properties I am assigning, so whatever the values as an argument I am passing through the constructor. So for that blindly you have to remember, you have to assign that properties whatever the s name so is associated with name. Okay, now so this dot yes is associated with yes property. Okay, yes. Now another thing is this dot yes location I am passing, so because we know the constructor is used to pass or used to initialize the class properties. Okay, now I'm going to initialize the class properties. See here, just I'm putting these statements because these I'm classifying distinguish, so like these are the class properties, that's why. So this class properties I'm providing whenever I'm creating an object, this constructor is automatically called, so that's why I'm passing as an argument. Okay, now I have to take one output statement here, so I'm simply printing that student object whatever I have created. Okay, student. Okay, so just a student object I'm creating, I'm calling that student object here. So just compiling again. Compiled successfully, executing. See here, so whatever the values I have passed as an argument, that will be passed here. Okay, Kiran 23 yes location Hyderabad, which are passed through the constructor. So here you have to remember one thing, one point is clear. So one, the constructor, if you are not using the constructor, default constructor with an empty arguments like this. Okay, constructor with empty arguments will be there. See, so there are more than one constructor, it won't be allowed. Okay, so that's why, so it is taking like this. Could you please switch off your video? Somebody is enabled their video. Okay, fine. Okay, right. So okay, so it's giving that's why an error only. If you have not specified any constructors, then the constructor is by default constructor one will be there, so that will be instantiated automatically. Okay, so rather if you are providing the constructor, so that should be only the one constructor that is there in the class. Okay, now if you can call this one, so that will be executed. So now, so when how many number of times I am calling the student object, that many number of times the constructor will be called. Okay, that many number of times the constructor will be called. See here, so if I put like student one, okay, if I put like student one, so even if I'm executing, so the student one. Okay, so multiple times I have instantiated, multiple times I have defined an object, so multiple times with the help of that object reference variable, that will be printed. See, created, compiled successfully. If there are no errors, it will use an empty line and executed successfully. Two times I have executed because two times I have created an object, student one and student. Okay, see here, the class is student only, so I have specified reference variables are two times. So how many number of times I am creating this object, that many number of times that constructor will be called. See, if you are not providing, first time already we have provided, so again why it's throwing an error? So because we have to follow the arguments which are there, because internally it will be calling when we are creating this line of statement. Okay, this object when we are creating, so that time also it will be calling the constructor. So like that, so we have to use the constructor. Okay, the constructors are used inside a class to initialize the class properties. One point is clear. Second point is, so if you are not defining any constructors, automatically one default empty constructor, empty parameter constructor will be there, that will be called automatically, that will be called each and every time when we are creating an object. Second one. Okay, and third point you have to remember, so there are no, I mean at most we can use only one constructor in the TF file, TypeScript file. That means we can have only one constructor in the TypeScript. So these are three valid points you have to remember when we are working with